The stars were quiet when the training ship entered the outer edge of the system. It was not supposed to be dangerous. The mission was simple. Observe, learn, survive basic drills. The human cadets had done this many times before. This system was marked as low risk, far from any known war zones. The young human cadet sat inside the ship, strapped into his seat, staring at the wide glass panel in front of him. He was not nervous, he was calm. He had learned that panic never helped. His instructors always said that fear was natural, but control was human. Around him, other cadets checked equipment and talked quietly. Some joked, some stayed silent. None of them expected what was about to happen. Without warning, alarms screamed through the ship. Red lights flashed across the walls. The calm space outside suddenly filled with movement. Shadows crossed the stars. The ship shook hard, throwing several cadets against their seats. Enemy vessels appeared out of nowhere. Long, sharp shapes moved like hunters closing in. Their ships were black and alive-looking, almost like creatures instead of machines. This system was not empty. It was claimed. The alien species that ruled this region were known across the galaxy as apex predators. They did not warn. They did not negotiate. They hunted. The human cadet's fingers tightened around the seat straps as explosions rocked the ship. A loud voice echoed through the cabin, ordering emergency procedures. Defensive system activated, but it was useless. The training ship was not built for war. One enemy blast tore through the side of the hull. Metal screamed. Air rushed out. The ship spun violently as systems failed one by one. The cadet felt weightless for a moment as the ship began its uncontrolled descent toward the planet below. Through the broken glass, he saw red forests stretching endlessly across the surface, massive twisted trees, dark rivers. Strange glowing shapes moving beneath the canopy. This was predator territory. The crash came like the end of the world. The ship tore through trees, smashing branches thicker than buildings. Fire and smoke filled the air. The ground rose fast, and then everything went black. When the cadet opened his eyes, the world was silent, too silent. Smoke curled upward from the broken ship behind him. Pieces of metal lay scattered across the cracked ground. His body hurt, but nothing was broken. Training had saved him. He slowly stood and looked around. The forest was close. Red leaves drifted through the air like falling embers. The sky above glowed purple, and 3 moons hung low watching. He was alone. No voices answered his calls. No signals came through his communicator. The rest of the cadets were gone, either dead or taken. The cadet understood the truth quickly. This was no accident. This was a test turned into a war. A low sound reached his ears. Heavy, slow, intentional. He turned just as 6 massive shapes emerged from the trees. They were tall, far taller than any human. Their bodies were covered in dark armor-like skin. Long arms ended in claws sharp enough to cut steel. Their heads were smooth and long with glowing eyes that locked onto him instantly. Apex predators. They moved in a circle around him, silent but deadly. Each step was controlled, confident. These creatures had hunted entire species to extinction. The cadet did not run. Running would make him prey. Instead, he slowly lowered himself to the ground and sat, calm. Still, his hands rested openly on his knees. His breathing stayed steady. His eyes never left theirs. The predators paused. This was not fear. This was not surrender. Confusion passed between them in small movements and low sounds. Prey screamed. Prey begged. Prey ran. This human did none of those things. One predator stepped forward, towering over him. Its claws hovered inches from the cadet's face. Its breath was hot and heavy. Still, the human did not move. Inside his mind, the cadet remembered his lessons. Humans survived because they adapted, because they observed, because they learned faster than any other species. He spoke slowly, calmly, knowing they might not understand the words but would understand the tone. There was no fear in his voice. The predator hesitated. Something shifted in the air. The circle tightened, but not aggressively. They were watching now, studying. Far above, unseen by the cadet, a predator scout transmitted live images back to its leaders. A lone human, surrounded yet unbroken. The predators had not planned for this. They expected panic. They expected weakness. What they saw instead was control. The cadet's mind raced. If he was to survive, he needed more than bravery. He needed dominance without violence. Humans were dangerous not because of strength, but because of will. Hours passed. The predators did not attack. They waited. The human remained seated, unmoving, his presence slowly rewriting the balance of the situation. By nightfall, the predators withdrew slightly, not retreating, respecting distance. The cadet knew then that he was no longer prey. Far across the planet, the alien leadership debated. This human was different. If one cadet could do this, what could an army do? The unexpected war had begun, not with weapons but with silence, and somewhere in the red forests of an alien world, a single human cadet sat among monsters and began to rule without raising a hand. The night on the predator world was long and heavy. Strange sounds echoed through the red forest, deep calls mixed with sharp clicks and low vibrations that traveled through the ground. The human cadet did not sleep. He stayed seated near the wreckage, his back straight, his eyes alert. The predators watched from a distance. Their glowing eyes appeared between the trees, never blinking, never fully hiding. They were waiting for weakness, hunger, fear. But the human gave them none. When the first light of dawn touched the sky, the cadet finally stood. Slowly, carefully, he stretched his stiff limbs and checked his gear. His weapon was damaged. Supplies were limited, but his mind was sharp. He walked toward the forest edge without hesitation. The predators reacted instantly. Several of them stepped forward, blocking his path. Their bodies formed a wall of muscle and claws. One of them growled, a deep sound that vibrated in the cadet's chest. The human stopped and raised one hand, palm open, not a threat, not surrender. A signal. He pointed toward the forest, then toward himself, then sat back down on a nearby stone. His movements were slow, clear, deliberate. The predators exchanged low sounds. They understood one thing clearly. This human was not running. He was not attacking. He was choosing. Minutes passed. Then one predator stepped aside. Not all of them. Just one. The message was clear. They would allow him to move, but only under watch. The cadet nodded once, as if acknowledging an agreement. He entered the forest, every sense alert. The predators followed, moving like shadows, silent despite their size. The forest was alive. Red leaves covered the ground, hiding sharp stones and small moving creatures. Strange plants pulsed faint light, reacting to movement. The air was thick and warm. The cadet stopped near a stream. He knelt and touched the water, testing it. Clean enough. He drank slowly, never turning his back. One predator stepped closer, watching closely. The human reached into his pack and pulled out a small food ration. He broke it in half and placed one piece on a flat rock between them. Then he stepped back. The predator did not move at first. Then it crouched and examined the food. It sniffed it, tapped it with a claw, then consumed it in one bite. Nothing happened. The predator tilted its head. The human remained calm. He did not offer more. He did not ask. He simply waited. This was how humans survived first contact, not by force, by patience. Later that day, the cadet discovered something important. The predators were not mindless killers. They followed rules, territories, hierarchy. Every movement showed discipline, and discipline could be understood. When a smaller predator approached aggressively, a larger one stopped it with a single look. No violence, just authority. The human watched carefully. That night, the predators brought him something unexpected. A dead creature placed a short distance from where he sat. It was an offering. Not kindness, a test. The cadet approached the body slowly. He inspected it, then shook his head. He pushed it slightly away and pointed toward the forest, then to the sky. He was not a scavenger. He was not dependent. The predators reacted with visible interest. No prey refused food. No prey corrected behavior. The next day, the cadet demonstrated something new. He found a fallen tree blocking a narrow path. Using broken metal from the ship, he created leverage and moved the massive trunk aside. The predators watched closely. Strength without claws, intelligence without fangs. A shift began. The cadet started walking freely now, deeper into the territory. The predators no longer blocked him. They followed, not as guards, but as observers. Far away, the predator leaders watched the recordings. A human alone, adapting faster than expected. Learning. Teaching without words. This was dangerous. If humans could do this alone, what would they do together? The cadet found high ground overlooking the forest. From there, he could see movement patterns, hunting routes, water sources. He began mapping the land in his mind. That night, a storm came. Violent winds tore through the trees. Rain flooded the forest floor. The cadet found shelter beneath a rock overhang. The predators gathered nearby. One slipped on the wet ground and injured its leg. The human noticed immediately. He approached slowly, ignoring warning growls. He knelt and examined the wound. Using basic medical tools, he cleaned it and wrapped it tightly. The predator froze. No prey touched a wounded hunter. When the cadet stepped back, the predator tested its leg. It worked. Something changed then. The predators lowered themselves slightly. Not submission. Recognition. By morning, the cadet was no longer surrounded. He was accompanied. When smaller predators approached, they kept distance. When danger appeared, the larger ones positioned themselves between the human and threat. The human cadet understood the meaning clearly. He was under protection. Far above the forest, predator ships adjusted their patrol patterns. The leaders argued, "Kill him now, or study him further." The answer did not come quickly. The cadet stood at the edge of a cliff looking out over the alien world. His training had never included this. Yet here he was, alive, respected, and changing the rules without firing a single shot. He knew this was only the beginning. The predators were learning, and humans learned faster. The balance of power on this world was shifting quietly, steadily, and permanently. The change did not go unnoticed. Across the predator world, movement patterns shifted. Hunting groups altered routes. Patrols increased. The presence of the human cadet had disturbed something old and powerful. High above the planet, inside a massive organic command vessel, the predator leaders watched silent recordings. The human walked freely among their hunters. He was not chased. He was not attacked. He was followed. This was unacceptable. The predators ruled through fear and dominance. Respect was earned only through victory in combat. Yet here stood a human who had done neither, and still bent the rules of the hunt. An order was given. A trial would decide his fate. On the ground, the cadet sensed the shift before he saw it. The forest grew quiet again, the same way it had before the crash. That kind of silence meant danger. The predators escorting him stopped moving. Their bodies stiffened, their eyes focused toward the deeper forest. Then they came. Larger predators emerged from the trees. Older, scarred. Their armor was darker, thicker. These were not hunters. These were enforcers. The cadet did not step back. He stood tall, his posture calm, his expression steady. One of the enforcers stepped forward and struck the ground with its claw. The impact cracked stone. This was a challenge. The human understood. If he ran, he would be hunted. If he attacked, he would be killed. So he did something else. He slowly removed his damaged weapon and placed it on the ground. Then he took a single step forward, meeting the enforcer's gaze. He lowered himself into a kneeling position, not submission, but grounding. He placed one hand over his chest and then pointed outward toward the watching predators. "I am here. I am not your enemy." The enforcer reacted violently. It roared, a sound that shook the trees and charged. The predators around them scattered. The cadet stayed where he was. At the last moment, the charging enforcer stopped. Its claws hovered inches from the human's face. The cadet looked up calmly. His eyes held no fear, only certainty. Slowly, deliberately he stood. He picked up a sharp stone from the ground and placed it into the enforcer's claw. Then he closed the claw around it and stepped back. A gift? A test? The enforcer stared at the stone, confused. The predators had many weapons. This was not about power. The human then pointed to the cliff edge nearby, a steep drop into a deep ravine. Understanding came slowly. The enforcer hurled the stone. It vanished into the darkness below, the sound of impact never returning. The cadet nodded. He then picked up a larger stone, much heavier, and carried it to the edge himself. With effort, using leverage and balance, he pushed it over. It fell faster, harder. The sound echoed loudly. Efficiency, understanding of physics, control. The predators murmured among themselves. The enforcer stepped back. The trial was not over, but the human had not failed. Later that day, the cadet was escorted deeper into predator territory. Massive stone structures rose from the ground, shaped by claw and time. This was a gathering place. Hundreds of predators watched as the human walked among them. No chains, no guards, only eyes. The cadet felt their attention pressing down on him. He did not rush. He did not lower his gaze. At the center of the gathering, a massive predator sat upon a raised stone. This was a leader. Its presence was heavy, commanding. Scars covered its body, each one a mark of survival. The cadet stopped several steps away. The leader spoke in a deep, rumbling language, translated roughly through the cadet's device. "Why do you live?" The cadet answered simply. "Because I adapt." The leader tilted its head. "Why do you walk among hunters?" "Because fear wastes energy." Low sounds passed through the crowd. The leader leaned forward. "Why should you remain?" The cadet paused. Then he answered honestly. "Because killing me teaches you nothing. Watching me teaches you everything." Silence followed. The leader studied him for a long time. Then it spoke again. "If humans come, will they hunt us?" The cadet did not lie. "They will protect their own." The leader considered this. Then the leader made a choice. The cadet would live, but he would be tested again. The next test came quickly. A rival predator faction attacked the territory that night. Smaller, faster, more violent. They did not respect the human's presence. They saw him as weakness. The first screams echoed through the forest. The cadet moved immediately. He climbed to high ground, signaling the predators he had bonded with. He pointed, gestured, guided movement. They listened. Under his direction, the predators formed defensive lines, not chaotic attacks. They blocked paths, controlled angles, forced the attackers into narrow spaces. The cadet used light, sound, and terrain to confuse the enemy. No direct combat, just control. The rival faction broke within minutes. They fled. The predator stood victorious, shocked by how easy it had been. They turned to the human. For the first time, several predators lowered their heads fully. Submission. Far above, Predator command ships detected the battle outcome. Analysis confirmed the impossible. A human had coordinated Predator forces successfully. This was no longer a curiosity. This was a threat. The leaders issued a new order: contain the human, or eliminate him. On the ground, the cadet felt the weight of his actions. He had crossed an invisible line. He was no longer just surviving. He was leading. As the moons rose over the red forest, the human stood among apex predators who now waited for his signal. And across the stars, humanity's name began to spread, spoken not in fear, but in caution. The warning came before the attack. The predators sensed it first. Their movements slowed. Their heads turned toward the sky. A deep vibration rolled through the ground, steady and unnatural. The human cadet looked up. Ships, not predator ships. These were different, larger, heavier, built for war, not patrol. They descended through the clouds without hiding, their engines shaking the forest below. Human ships. The cadet's chest tightened. Help had arrived, but not in the way he hoped. The predators around him reacted instantly. Some crouched low, ready to fight. Others growled, their claws digging into the stone. Fear spread fast. They remembered what war meant. The cadet raised both hands, palms open, forcing himself between the predators and the rising panic. He pointed to the sky, then to himself, then slowly shook his head. Not yet. The human ships did not attack immediately. They hovered, scanning the terrain. Dropships detached and moved toward the surface. The cadet understood the danger. If the humans attacked first, everything he had built would be destroyed in seconds. The predators would fight back. The planet would burn. He had to act fast. He moved toward the highest ground near the gathering stone. The predators followed him instinctively now. He activated his damaged communicator, pushing it beyond safe limits. "This is Cadet designation unknown," he said clearly. "I am alive. Do not engage." Static answered. Then a voice broke through, sharp and controlled. "Identify yourself. You are in a hostile zone." "I am not hostile," the cadet replied. "And neither are they." There was silence, then disbelief. Sensors locked onto his position. Human commanders watched live images of a lone cadet standing among apex predators who did not attack him. Orders were delayed. On the ground, not all predators trusted the pause. A group of younger hunters moved forward aggressively, interpreting the ships as a threat that must be challenged. The cadet turned and stepped directly into their path. He stood tall, unarmed, blocking them. The larger predators reacted instantly. They moved between the young hunters and the human, forcing them back. The cadet pointed to the sky again, then to the ground, then spread his hands wide. "If war comes, everyone loses." The leader approached him slowly. The massive predator studied the sky, then the human. "Your kind brings fire," the leader said through translation. The cadet met its gaze. "So does yours." The leader did not deny it. Above, the human command ships prepared contingency weapons. Fear drove their decisions. A planet ruled by predators was not something they trusted. A human officer spoke through the channel again. "Step away from the hostiles. Extraction is ready." The cadet shook his head. "If you fire, they will fight. If they fight, you will destroy this world. You won't win anything." The officer hesitated. "Those creatures wiped out colonies." "They did," the cadet replied calmly, "because no one ever spoke to them without fear." On the ground, a sudden movement broke the tension. A rival predator scat attacked from the trees, striking at the human ships with primitive energy weapons. Chaos erupted. Human ships fired defensive blasts, narrowly missing predator groups below. The forest burned in several places. Smoke rose fast. The cadet reacted instantly. He ran toward the leader, shouting commands through gestures and motion. He pointed at the fires, then toward the attacking scouts. The predators moved with purpose. They split into groups, some extinguishing flames, others driving the rival attackers away. Human commanders watched in shock. Predators cooperating, protecting territory, saving lives. The cadet climbed onto a broken stone platform and activated his communicator again. "Stop firing," he ordered, his voice steady but loud. "They are protecting this area. Look at the feeds." Silence followed. Weapons powered down. The rival attackers retreated into the forest, driven out by coordinated predator groups. The fires were controlled. The ground fell quiet again. The human officer finally spoke. "You are giving them tactics." "No," the cadet replied. "I'm giving them options." On the ground, the predator leader approached him. "You stand between claws and fire," it said. "Why?" The cadet answered without hesitation. "Because control is better than destruction." The leader studied him for a long time. Then it did something no predator leader had ever done before. It bowed its head fully. The meaning was clear to every predator present. This human was no longer a guest, he was authority. Above the planet, human command debated fiercely. Some demanded immediate extraction. Others saw opportunity. A single cadet had achieved what fleets could not. An agreement was proposed, temporary, fragile. The cadet was informed he would remain as a mediator. Under observation, he accepted without hesitation. That night he stood alone at the edge of the forest, watching human ships retreat to high orbit. The predators remained behind him, silent guardians in the darkness. The cadet knew the truth now. Peace was possible, but only if someone was willing to stand where both sides could strike. Far away, rival forces watched and learned. The human had changed the balance, but balance always attracted challengers. As the moons rose again, the cadet felt the weight of leadership settle fully onto his shoulders. The real test was coming, and this time, survival would not be enough. The fragile peace did not last long. From the shadows beyond the forest, eyes were watching. Not human, not predator. A third force had arrived, drawn by conflict and opportunity. The human cadet felt it before anyone warned him. The predators grew restless. Patrol routes changed without command. Scouts failed to return. Something was hunting the hunters. High above the planet, human ships detected strange energy signals. Not predator technology, not human design, ancient and powerful. The cadet was summoned to a secure channel. "This system is no longer isolated," a human commander said. "A third faction has entered, unknown origin." The cadet closed his eyes briefly. He understood immediately. Power attracted attention, and he had shifted too much of it. On the ground, the predator leader approached him with urgency. "These ones do not speak," the leader said. "They erase." Before more could be said, the attack came. The sky tore open with silent flashes. Massive constructs descended like living towers, their surfaces shifting, absorbing light. Beams struck the forest, dissolving trees, ground, and life without sound. Predators scattered. Humans in orbit scrambled defenses. The cadet moved without hesitation. He ran to the command stone, broadcasting to both sides. "Fall back. Do not rush them. They want panic." The third faction advanced slowly, confident, unstoppable. Predator attacks failed. Human weapons barely slowed them. The cadet watched carefully. Patterns emerged. Delays. Recharge cycles. Weak moments between strikes. He saw what others missed. "These machines are not warriors," he said calmly. "They are collectors." No one questioned him now. He coordinated rapidly, using predators for ground control and humans for precision strikes. He ordered retreats where pride demanded attack. Some predators resisted. One group charged anyway. They were erased instantly. The cost was clear. The predator leader roared in rage, ready to unleash everything. The cadet stopped it with a single raised hand. If you attack with anger, he said, you die for nothing. Silence followed, then obedience. Human command hesitated again. This is no longer your mission, an officer said. Extraction now. The cadet shook his head. If I leave, this world falls. A pause, then a quiet response, then you command. Authority transferred. A cadet no longer in name alone. The cadet set a trap. He lured the collectors toward a narrow canyon where energy would reflect and overload their systems. Predators drove them forward. Humans sealed escape routes from orbit. The plan worked partially. One construct adapted faster than expected. It broke free, targeting the command stone directly. The cadet stood in its path. Predators shouted warnings. Humans screamed through channels. He did not move. At the last moment, he activated a crude device built from ship wreckage and predator tech. A pulse burst outward, disrupting the construct long enough for a final strike. It collapsed. Victory, but at a cost. The blast threw the cadet backward. His body struck stone hard. Darkness closed in. For a moment, everything stopped. When he opened his eyes, the forest was quiet again. Smoke drifted. Wreckage burned. The collectors were gone. The predator leader knelt beside him. Humans hovered above, waiting. You live, the leader said softly. The cadet struggled to sit up. For now, he replied. Losses were counted. Many predators were gone. Human ships damaged. The world was saved, but changed forever. The leader looked at him carefully. You have led us through fire, it said. What do you ask in return? The cadet thought for a long moment. Learn, he said. So we don't have to do this again. High Orbit Command agreed. An alliance was declared, not written, not celebrated, understood. As night fell, the cadet stood once more under the alien moons. The predator stood with him, not behind. Human ships watched silently above. He had stopped a war. He had started something far bigger. But deep in space, the collectors transmitted data before retreating. Human adaptability confirmed. Threat level increased. The cadet felt it in his bones. This was not the end. It was preparation. The days after the battle were quiet but not peaceful. The forest healed slowly. Burned ground turned dark, then green again. Predator patrols returned to regular paths, but nothing felt the same. Humans remained in high orbit, watching without interfering. And at the center of it all stood the human cadet. He was no longer treated as an outsider. Predators did not surround him anymore. They walked beside him. When he stopped, they stopped. When he spoke, they listened. The predator leader met him at the gathering stone as the moons rose. The collectors will return, the leader said. The cadet nodded. I know. The leader studied him carefully. When they come, will your kind stand with us? The cadet looked up at the sky, where faint lights marked human ships. They already are, he said. In orbit, human command finalized decisions that would change history. This world would not be conquered. It would be protected, not as a colony, not as a battlefield, but as a shared frontier. The cadet was given a choice: return home, become a hero, or stay. He chose to stay. Weeks passed. The cadet helped build something new. Not walls, not weapons, systems communication, shared patrols, shared warning signals. Humans taught engineering. Predators taught survival. Both learned restraint. The cadet never claimed leadership openly. He did not need to. Authority followed him naturally. When conflict arose, both sides turned to him. One evening, a young predator approached him cautiously, smaller than the others. Curious, why do you not rule us? It asked through translation. The cadet smiled faintly. Because ruling ends, he said, understanding lasts. Far from the planet, deep in the dark between stars, the collectors gathered. Data flowed between their silent structures. The conclusion was clear. Humans were not strong because of weapons. Humans were strong because they changed others. The collectors adjusted their long-term projections. Avoid direct conflict. Observe. Prepare. On the planet, a human officer finally descended to the surface. She approached the cadet with careful respect. You've changed doctrine, she said. Entire fleets are rewriting strategy. The cadet did not look proud. He looked tired. Good, he replied. She hesitated. You were trained to follow orders. I was trained to survive, he said. One night, the cadet stood alone at the cliff edge again. The same place where he had once been prey. The same place where he had shown control without force. The Predator leader joined him. You could have ruled through fear, it said. The cadet nodded. So could you. The leader looked out over the forest. Fear breaks, it said. You did not. A distant signal echoed through space. Not an attack. A message. The collectors were watching but not advancing. Balance had been achieved. Not through dominance, through choice. Years later, stories spread across the galaxy. Of a predator world that no longer hunted alone. Of humans who did not always conquer. Of a cadet who never fired a shot, yet reshaped a species. In training academies, instructors told new cadets one lesson above all others. Strength is not shown by claws or fire. It is shown by control. The human cadet remained on the world until his hair turned gray. He walked the red forests as easily as home. Predators who once towered over him now walked as equals. When he finally left the planet, there was no ceremony, no banners, just silence and understanding. The Predator leader watched the human ship rise into the sky. Will we see your kind again? It asked. Yes, the cadet answered. But not as enemies. As the ship disappeared among the stars, the Predators returned to their world. No longer apex hunters alone, but guardians of balance. And far across the galaxy, when species spoke of humanity, they no longer asked how strong humans were. They asked something far more important. What will they change next?